Mental health has been a consistent topic over the past few years. The Norwood Police Department and Riverside Community Care have partnered together to start the Mobile Crisis Intervention Police Drop-Off Jail Diversion Program. NCM learned more about this program and its importance.
So here at Riverside Mobile Crisis, we do mental health evaluations and interventions to assess for safety and higher levels of care, and then provide the appropriate recommendations and resources as necessary. We are a 24/7 service. We're able to have people come into the office. We're able to mobile out to their homes, do telehealth, and we also accept walk-ins. Some of the things that we see people for is for suicidal ideation, for increased anxiety or depression, and things like that. We're able to kind of meet people where they're at and go from there, provide services.
Me and Kelsey work collaboratively. We wrote a grant about a year and a half ago. We were able to get a jail diversion program clinician in-house, so she's stationed here within the Norwood Police Department. She works 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday, and this allows us to go out and kind of oversee some of the mental health calls for service. Where anything that comes in, we're able to follow up in regards to people who need services. We're able to get them, and the biggest thing is in a timely manner. We want to make sure that we're getting people services within a time span that works best for them and not a delayed process. We have about 65 sworn personnel. I believe last time I checked, it was up about 45 to 50 officers, which would put us well over the 70%, close to 80% threshold in regards to officers who are CIT trained within the department. Chief's done a great job utilizing the services and making sure that we're all CIT trained. Obviously, our calls for mental health have gone up over the past years, and so it's a big thing, and it's definitely what we're aiming for.
So what usually happens when I'm needed at a call is the officer will request me over the radio, or if we're both in the station, then I'll ride along with them in their cruiser to go out to the call. What happens when I usually get there is I'm updated by the officer about what's going on in the situation, and then I'll go and speak with the individual. And what I'm usually looking for during this evaluation is if that individual is a danger to themselves or others, if they're unable to care for themselves, or if there's any resources that I can think of that might be able to help them in their situation. If I do find in this evaluation that they are a danger to themselves or others, then I will coordinate with Riverside and the doctor that's on call that day to see if a Section 12 is needed. And if we all agree, then we will issue a Section 12. So a Section 12 is filled out when someone needs to be sent to the hospital involuntarily because they're unable to safely remain in the community. So there's those situations when a Section 12 isn't needed, but the individual still wants to hear about any resources that Riverside can provide during that exact moment. So in this case, myself and the officer will transport the individual in the cruiser to Riverside to speak with a clinician there at the Mobile Crisis Intervention Team, or MCI. And so we'll bring them inside to Riverside. I will call ahead beforehand to make sure that a clinician is available and let them know that we're coming. And so we'll bring them into MCI. And once they're sitting down with the clinician, if police support isn't no longer needed, then myself and the officer will leave them with the clinician there and we'll head out.
We can offer all different types of resources and referrals for clients. We're kind of a bridge service for most of these programs. Depending on the insurance, we could connect them with an urgent outpatient appointment intake. We also can connect people with partial programs, which are day programs, CCS, Community Crisis Stabilization, and as well as just intensive outpatient programs as well. So they have their own entrance that they bring all the person serves to. So that is on the side of our building. So they don't have to go through the waiting room for outpatient in the CBHC. That way it could be full of people, and sometimes that could be uncomfortable for a lot of people. So when Officer Cedrone and or Kelsey or any officer at any time of day drops someone here, we're able to take the client into one of our interview rooms where we gather some information right from the client. If they're able to do so, we have them fill out paperwork. And while they're filling that out, we talk with the officer and or Kelsey, whoever was dropping the person off, and we get clarification on what had happened, why they were called to the scene, and if it's safe to do so, the officer will leave. We have a crisis intervention specialist who is always notified here. and they are trained specifically to deal with the walk-ins and provide support to them. So they are always notified and they're always around. So in case we do need them, they're there for additional support as well. And then we do the assessment and determine what is needed for the person served.
On a monthly basis, we average probably about 15 to 20% for mental health calls related. Those can stagger anywhere between mental health, well-being checks, Section 12s, and voluntary evaluations. So anytime there is a well-being check or a voluntary evaluation, it's protocol that you call the Norwood Police Department first. We'll get there and assess, and if we do determine, it's going to be a well-being check, it turns into a voluntary evaluation. That's when we'll get Kelsey involved in the in our protocol and see what works best. If there is openings over at MCI, we would prefer to bring them, but there is certain criteria that they have to meet. They cannot be violent or hostile. They have to willingly, voluntarily go. And the other end is if you do have that Section 12, that's more likely when they are going to go to the hospital because it's not safe for them to be in the community. So it's a case-by-case scenario. A well-being check could be anywhere from an individual calling saying there's a person acting erratically out on the side of the road, or a well-being check could come in, could you respond, my residence, my mom, we're unable to make contact with her. A well-being check could be simply, could you go and check on an individual who suffers from some mental health issues, he's been off his medication, he's acting erratically. So well-being checks come in a wide variety of ways, and the only way to actually know what you have is to go there and assess it, talk to them, and try to come to some sort of resolution.
Any calls that are involving mental health or well-being checks that mental health is a possible factor are ones that I'll absolutely go out on. And then there's also ones where the officer will realize that an individual is either homeless or struggling with substance use, and so then I'll go out on those to speak with them to offer any resources such as shelters, inpatient or outpatient programs, or anything else that might be able to help them.
Kelsey definitely makes my job easier. She comes with a lot of experience. Having her background, she's really good. She's empathetic with people. She takes initiative, and she cares for people. And I think her biggest thing is she's really compassionate, she's understanding, and she's knowledgeable in the fact that she's willing to utilize and get people the services that they want. She follows up with people relentlessly. She's constantly being bothered by some of our officers here to conduct follow-ups and get the resources that are needed in order for our individuals within the town who do suffer from some sort of mental health issues. And I think that's her biggest attribute here within the police department. We're very grateful that we have her.